This new factory is a rare glimmer of hope for the South African manufacturing sector. Global technology giant 3M relaunches its manufacturing presence in South Africa in this 10,000 square metre space in Kempton Park, Johannesburg this week. 3M is a technology company focused on innovation. It produces around 60,000 products worldwide, and one of the more well-known products is this scourer used in kitchens, used to get off grease off pots and pans. Lane, tell us about some of the other products you'll be producing in this factory.
Thank you. There will be a number of products that we'll make locally and that we already are making locally. As you can see, the factory is in a bit of a situation because we're just moving and opening up. But we will be doing products like electrical jointing, resin kits. We will be making abrasive products. We'll be slitting a lot of tape products.
Products made here have been carefully chosen with rising power costs in mind. Since 2008, manufacturers have had to adapt to double-digit electricity price hikes, far outpacing the overall inflation rate.
We're not bringing into South Africa operations which will be highly energy or electricity energy consuming, right? Our will be more of capability transfer, knowledge transfer, customization, niche market production capability that we can be flexible in movement of operators, movement of equipment to create product that we need. 63
new jobs are created in this factory. Sensitive to the negative impact of rising power costs on economic growth and employment, state-owned power utility Eskom bowed to government pressure and announced it could afford to reduce this month's April price hike to only 16% from the initial 25.9%.
It was possible partly because we have rephased and retimed our capital expenditure, and we have a better handle on the capital expenditure than we would have had 3 years ago at the time that we were applying for this current round of tariff increases. At that time, we were busy building Medupi and Kusile and Ngula already, but we didn't have the funding program in place. We didn't have the government guarantees that we have now. We hadn't placed many of the contracts, and the world is now very different for Eskom.
Sharp price hikes have meant electricity makes up a larger bulk of total cost for the 36 members of the energy-intensive user group, which accounts for 44% of the country's electricity sales. Electricity, for example, shot up to 2/5 of Smelter Sublime's operating cost in 2011. It made up only 6% of Sasol's cost in 2007 versus 15% 4 years later. The reduced price hike this month is a welcome breather.
It's incredibly positive news for two reasons. One, the first being that the users had already priced in a 25% increase and actually expected probably closer to 30% for a lot of the major users. So NERSA had already agreed to that 25%, so this reduction was a pleasant surprise. I think the most positive thing coming out of it is this issue that both government, Eskom and NERSA are now keenly aware on how critical electricity pricing is to economic growth in the country, and are engaging in ways in which we can mitigate both the rate of rise of prices and where those prices plateau in the future. The ability to evolve to the higher price plateau is crucial because obviously it requires of us to change processes, invest in new infrastructure, new technologies, so a much longer time to evolve is important.
Price certainty over a longer period is also preferable for Eskom and Eskom bond holders. Another factor the energy regulator NERSA must consider when assessing Eskom's tariff application for the next round of increases effective from 2013 is government's long-term energy goals set out in the Integrated Resource Plan 2010.
That provides for about 40% of our new capacity to come from renewable energy as a country, and about a further almost a quarter to come from nuclear energy. Now, the new build costs of those will have to be factored in to electricity tariffs at some point, and it doesn't matter who builds them, they will need to be factored into the price of electricity.
Relative power costs on a global stage are important too. Before 2009, industrial power costs in South Africa were lower than key Chinese and Indian manufacturing regions. But this competitive advantage has eroded significantly over the past couple of years, and by 2020, South African electricity will cost much more than key industrial cities in its emerging market peers. But despite more expensive labour, energy and environmental costs, South Africa still has a number of advantages.
The leadership of 3M have recognized the strategic importance of Africa. We see South Africa and our South Africa capability obviously as an opportunity to expand into the rest of Southern Africa and even East and West Africa if we see it necessary to do so. However, in the longer term, we would obviously replicate the model in those countries like we have done here.
Cheap electricity is now accepted as a thing of the past, while some manufacturers will lose out as the country's competitive edge as a cheap energy provider changes. Others will evolve with fine-tuned production for the new reality.